what you communicate and how you communicate. In fact, there are so many channels available now. I was just jotting them down as you were asking. Clearly, there is a medium of that communication. There's a frequency of that communication. So if I go 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I still remember sitting in Belgium in an acquisition that had just happened. I do recall that there was no emails then, and a printed letter came from a US company signed by the chairman in an envelope. So it clearly came 3 days after it had been sent. By that time, everybody had read it because it had come by fax, and then it was put up on the notice board. So that was the medium of communication. Or then you started doing emails, or then you started doing town halls. But then you realize that when you're a global company spread out in 40, 50 locations, then it just can't be limited to those town halls, because you can't do town halls in 40 locations. So all hands meets gave way to all hand calls. Then you realize that communication is not something that you only do in the company that's been acquired. You also need to do similar communication in the company that is acquiring. You need to explain the rationale also to people in the company that is acquiring, right? It is not that you're making a change only in the acquired company. You're also making a change in the company that's acquiring. Some of them may have let go of their best leaders to participate in the other company. Some of them may have been told that now that this company has come in, our center of excellence for this technology or this business will be in the other company. Therefore, you will stop doing it. So there will be businesses that you may have invested in which are still sub-invested, which are still not reached a critical mass where they're on their own. You may have dissonance or lack of clarity there. So communication will have to happen both sides, not just one side. Of course, then there's the communication that now you have Facebook and Twitter. So news travels faster and has become two-way much more than it was ever before. It is much more egalitarian, right? Hierarchies have stopped making sense. Earlier, people used to do anonymous mails. Somehow now, if you look at people, especially the community in your generation, which has grown up on social networking, you're a lot more courageous about asking questions than perhaps when we were your age. You're not afraid of repercussions because you asked a tough question, as long as you were mature about it and not doing it to make a point, to just prove a point, but to have a healthy discussion. So those channels have come into play. They have to be leveraged, right? Then you realize that the media has become very active. Analysts have become very active. I remember a time many years ago when an employee walked up to me, I'm talking about 10 years ago, he walked up to me and said, "I love this part." I said, "How do you know about it?" "Oh, I read it in the Times of India." I said, "You read it in the Times of India and you love it?" I said, "Good, but I've been saying this for the last 1 year in every town hall that I have with you." So you realize there's a certain power and credibility to external media playing the same message back into a talent pool or a set of people. So all these things come into play. But after having said all these things, right? I've spoken about different media, different channels, different styles of leadership, different structures of governance you take in, where you go in to take control, or you go in just to have oversight and help, or you go in saying we'll give you one leader and then the leadership will just evolve with him and grow with it. You will create a shared vision with this person, whether you communicate it in an acquiring company or the acquired company. There is 2 to 3 things that remain of paramount importance. They are really the most important things. 1, the honesty, integrity, and the applicability of the message you communicate. It is very important. There has to be a consistency and integrity to that message, because if you miss out on integrity in your early communication into another company, you have a challenge, because everybody's prepared to disbelieve and distrust, right? So that is one. The second thing, and I said this last time when I just acquired Deutsche Software on an analyst call, you have to walk the talk. You have to walk the talk. If you say something saying, these are our values, this is our shared vision, This is how we will handle the customers. This is how we'll handle the employees. This is how the policies will evolve, converge, migrate to a new set of policies. These will be changes. There has to be an integrity and consistency and honesty to those messages. Number 2, you have to walk the talk, and when you walk the talk, you have to demonstrate early wins. People have to see that you mean what you say. Because when you walk into an unknown set of people who already are in a heightened state of disbelief and mistrust, if that is the case, sometimes it is not the case. So I'm taking the worst case scenario and talking to that. The most important thing that you need to demonstrate is consistency. I'll give you a simple example. A person walks, let's say there's an open office, and a person walks in and says, I did this great deal. We had no capability in the area, right? But I was able to convince the customer. Somehow we'll try and do it now that I've got the contract. And the person is patted on the back saying, very well done. And there are 8-10 people hearing it, right? A week later, another person walks in and says, I have done this. And suddenly the person is told, it is against our values to lie. We will only do for a customer what we are capable of doing. We cannot go and exaggerate what we can do and what we can't do. Now to the 8-10 people who are sitting and listening there, what do you think will happen to them? They will be confused, saying, what behavior does this guy reward and what behavior does this guy punish? And therefore consistency, and I just took a very silly example to make a point. Channel of communication, medium of communication, very important. But I don't think in current technology and in current world, I think we are well served there as long as we leverage all that is available. Discussion boards, internal social networking. In fact, I still remember about a year ago I launched a full discussion platform inside a company where people were told, come in, express yourself. And because if you don't provide that platform, there's enough platforms available publicly, right? Integrity of the message, execution of what you do by walking the talk early and showing easy wins, and consistency in that message. Those will be the most important things. Other things like what is the shared vision, that will depend on what strategy you have for the acquisition. So I'm assuming all that you would do in a normal company, you would do here too. But here you are doing a change, a large change with a set of energies and individuals and dynamics that you don't know very well. So then it will be driven by what the circumstances are and